Okay, hello everybody, and I'm Juhani from Finland, and I'm very pleased to be here today. There's snow all over Finland still, and the bees have hardly made any pleasing flights yet.
Okay, kommt aus Finnland, und in Finnland ist immer noch alles voller Schnee, und die Bienen haben es bisher noch nicht aus der Beute ausgeschafft.
And if you have any questions, you must ask them right now and here. I would love to have questions.
Okay, während des Vortrags Fragen stellen, sofort, wenn ihr irgendwas unklar ist.
I'm not a scientist, I'm just a very stubborn beekeeper. I used to have a situation where I had too much work. I had about 150 hives, then I had about 110 hectares of agricultural land fields, then we have about 300 hectares of forests.
Er ist eigentlich er ist ein ganz normaler Bienenzüchter und Imker. Er hat the number of 150 hives.
100 and 150.
Ja, 150 Völker auf einer relativ großen Fläche. Und you don't do that by profession, you do that.
I'm a farmer by profession. I just had too much work.
Also er ist eigentlich ist er Bauer und hatte zu viel Arbeit bisher.
Yeah. And there was 2001. I really got fed up with all this too much work, and I decided that what the hell, I might just drop treatments and see what happens. If they all die, well, I have less job then.
Okay, in 2001 hat er sich entschieden, das macht alles viel zu viel Arbeit mit der Behandlung, und ist den Weg gegangen zu sagen, okay, ich höre damit auf und gucke mal, wer überlebt und was passiert dabei.
And I thought there would be two options. Either my hives would survive or they would all die.
Er hatte zwei Optionen, entweder seine Völker würden sterben oder sie würden überleben.
But there seems to be a third option which is very much possible, that the bees don't die, but very big proportion of them dies, and the beekeeping is stuck in a very low productive mode.
Und es kam zu einer dritten Option, die dann dazu führte, dass halt eine ganze Menge Bienen gestorben sind und einige Bienen überleben und somit auch die ganze Honig- und Bienenproduktion kleiner wurde.
And that makes me a bit scary, that am I really going to get this through? Is this successful treatment-free beekeeping possible? That's my next 10 years goal. I wanted to have in the next 10 years my hive numbers back where they were and my honey crops back where they were.
Also er war zu Anfang natürlich, hatte er Angst, dass das alles kollabieren würde, und sein Ziel ist jetzt, nach den Erfahrungen, die er gemacht hat, dass er in 10 Jahren wieder da ist, wo er zu Anfang war, wieder bei 130 bis 150 Völkern.
Here's a little about myself. I studied beekeeping in Helsinki University as my main course, my main subject. Then I did practice it in New Zealand with a commercial beekeeper with 1,600 hives.
Er hat einen Master of Science an der Universität in Helsinki gemacht und einen Abschluss in Master Beekeeping, die Effekte von die Wirkung von Aminosäuren und Proteinen in der Honigbienenüberwinterung. Dann ist er das ist sein Lebenslauf natürlich, dann ist er nach Neuseeland und hat dort von 1986 bis 1987 Bienenzucht praktiziert, und zwar Kiwi-Bestäubung und Honigproduktion mit 1600 Völkern. I'm just doing your CV. Unterrichtet und doziert im Bereich Bienenzucht in Finnland seit mittlerweile 30 Jahren. Das gleiche auch in Deutschland, in Estonia und in Latvia. What are you doing? You're shipping queens?
I've been selling queens or then just sending them.
Okay, er züchtet und verkauft Königinnen und versendet die, Entschuldigung, nach Italien, Deutschland, Frankreich, Polen, Portugal, Estland, Latvia, nach Zypern, nach Luxemburg, Österreich, Mexiko und den Niederlanden.
Yes, and the B-book is in Finnish, and a couple parts written there. And the last line is the one which I'm maybe most proud of. I was selected as the Beekeeper of the Year 2014. Okay,
Er hat auch noch ein Buch rausgebracht, dessen Titel ich mir erspare vorzulesen. Das ist das mit den vielen Selbstlauten.
I told you I was fed up with all work, too much work, and then I decided I should do something else. I made up this plan that 2001, and I followed that plan very strictly. The plan consisted of two parts.
Also er hat 2001 dann angefangen, seinen Plan auszuarbeiten und zu starten. Der Plan bestand aus zwei Teilen.
Yeah, the one
speak German.
Ja. Ja, das Problem ist, dass ich spreche ja Deutsch, aber das ist ein bisschen schlechter als mein Englisch, aber ich konnte auch auf Deutsch versuchen.
Man versteht
Also als Deutscher in Österreich erlaube ich mir mal diesen Scherz. Es gibt hier Leute, die sprechen schlechter Deutsch als ich.
But be there. Das war ein Zweiteiler. Ein Teil war 70 kleine Völker, sehr kleine, sechs Rahmenvölker, und wir waren 70. Und die habe ich gerade in 2001 ohne Behandlungen. And then let's go back. Doesn't work. I think English is better. I mean, I had
much better. Much better. No, we don't understand German, so it's much better for us.
Yes, I've had 70 of these nucleus colonies, which I left untreated at the very moment, 2001, and then I tried to make nukes out of these little colonies every year. There were big losses, and then the other part was my big hives, and there I started a program of diminishing treatments little by little. I started with 38 milliliters of oxalic acid, and it was only one-time treatment per year.
Okay, also wie er sagte, er startete mit 70 kleinen Völkern und kleinen Raben mit 6 Rähmchen drin, die hat er unbehandelt gelassen, und dann hat er auch mit seinen normalen großen Bäumen gearbeitet. Und da hat er Stück für Stück angefangen, die Behandlung zu unterbrechen, und hat dann im ersten Jahr 3,8% Oxalsäure benutzt und hat das dann immer weiter runtergefahren. Und wir sehen dann in der nächsten Zeit, dass die Menge von Oxalsäure dann auf 5 Milliliter von vorher 38 Milliliter in 2001 bis zu 3 Milliliter in 2008 runtergefahren wurde. Also ein Stück für Stück Enthöhnung vom Gift.
Yeah. And as far as I know, I'm the only beekeeper who has done it this way, that making the treatments little by little, diminishing the treatments little by little. I know that Kirk Webster in USA, when I visited him,
Lift up the microphone.
Okay. I know that Kirk Webster in USA, he said once to me that he considered of diminishing treatments, but he used formic acid, which is very difficult to adjust the amount of formic acid So he decided he would give up treatments at once.
Der weiß nicht nur, dass er der Einzige ist, der in dieser Art und Weise angefangen hat, von den Säuren wegzugehen, und hat sich mit einem Kollegen in Amerika unterhalten, der aber nicht Oxalsäure, sondern Ameisensäure benutzt, und bei Ameisensäure ist halt die Dosierung deutlich komplexer runterzufahren, als wenn man Oxalsäure benutzt.
And the idea of diminishing treatments, it is many reasons for that. I wanted to give the bees time to adjust. I was not sure that if I today leave all treatments, would the right hives survive?
Er wollte natürlich den Bienen, weil er war sich einfach nicht sicher, ob es die Bienen verkraften würden, wenn er sofort aufhören würde, mit Säure zu behandeln. Und deshalb war seine Entscheidung, Stück für Stück die Menge an Säurebehandlung runterzufahren.
Because all the hives, they have very many stories behind. There's lots of different histories of the hives. If they are old hives, if they are nukes, if they are swarms, if they have had supersedure, it all affects how many mites there are.
Ja, also bedingt durch die Tatsache, dass er halt eine sehr gemischte Population hatte, es ist für ihn auch nicht klar gewesen, wie er mit den Völkern umgehen sollte, weil er hatte halt Schwarmvölker, er hatte kleine Mini-Beuten, er hatte große Beuten, und diese verschiedenen Umgebungen wirken halt auch ganz anders auf die Bienen, je nachdem, wie man mit der Säure dann vorgeht.
For instance, if there's a big hive and I have made a nuke from that, it affects the amount of varroa there are.
Er hatte zum Beispiel ein großes Volk, daraus hat er einen Ableger gemacht, eine Kleinbeute, und das beeinflusst natürlich auch die Anzahl der Varroa-Milben, die sich innerhalb dieser Völker befinden.
So I was afraid that if I leave the treatments in one moment, the wrong hives would survive.
Er hatte Angst, dass wenn er mit der Behandlung sofort aufhören würde, würden die falschen Völker eine große Population an Varroa aufweisen.
And then there's another good sign, good part of this. I could have these mites. I counted the mites, and I could select the hives which came the least amount of mites.
Er hat natürlich die Milben gezählt und hat dadurch die Völker selektiert, die die geringste Milbenanzahl aufweisen.
Here we can see the hive structure. I'm having another slide for the hive structure, the next one. But here is about my selection criteria during the years, and the most important selection, and some years the only selection criteria has been survival. It is very easy to select.
Das sind seine Selektionskriterien, und zu Anfang war natürlich das einzige Kriterium, das soll überlebt oder nicht.
And then if I had the possibility to choose, then I would use as second criteria the general condition of the hives and how many mites did I get from the oxalic acid treatment, or how many mites there are in the sugar shake experiment.
Nach einer Weile war man natürlich auch in der Lage, den allgemeinen Zustand, die Anzahl als Selektionskriterium zu benutzen, und das hat er dann gemacht, indem man die Milben gezählt hat, und danach nach der Behandlung oder nach der Futterzuckermethode.
It was 2001 and 2008. Between those years, I got these oxalic acid dropping count too much, and after 2008, I didn't treat, and after that, I had to use the sugar shake.
Okay, zwischen 2001 und 2008 hat er die Oxalsäure benutzt und langsam runtergefahren und hat damit den Milbenfall gezählt, und nach 2008 hat er nur noch die Puderzuckermethode benutzt.
And it is sometimes very hard to say, are the differences between hives, are they because they are genetically better, or it is just a coincidence?
Ja, es ist natürlich sehr schwer für ihn oder allgemein sehr schwer zu entscheiden, ob sich der Zustand des Volkes auf genetische Folgen zurückschließen lässt oder einfach nur auf den Mildenbefall. Oder Umwelteinflüsse.
Yeah, the finding the heritable differences is a very different task in this varroa breeding. We have to look. We can select colonies by looking at them individually. That is one part, and then we can select maybe a colony and looking also the individual colony and her mother.
Er hat natürlich die Möglichkeit, wenn er diese Auswahl macht, guckt er sich die Einzelkolonie an oder das Einzelvolk, oder guckt er sich auch an, wie hat sich die Kolonie, aus der dieses Volk entstanden ist, also die Mutterkolonie entwickelt, und bringt er die im Zusammenhang zueinander.
Or then what is maybe the best, we can look at a whole sister group. Is this group of sisters doing a better job than this other group of sister queens, and maybe count an average of the groups?
Und im größeren Bereich weitet das dann aus und guckt sich an, wie haben sich die einzelnen Schwesterköniginnen entwickelt, und vergleicht dann die Gesamtentwicklung und trifft daraus Entscheidungen.
But there still are many different difficulties in besides this high history, of course, the different yards and different years and conditions and so on. And too many varietal things, and it is really hard to decide whether this hive is better than this hive in breeding for varroa resistance.
Es gibt immer noch sehr viele verschiedene Punkte und Kriterien, nach denen er das bewerten kann, und das macht es auch nicht einfach. Das hat nicht nur damit zu tun, wie die einzelnen Völker sich entwickeln, sondern wo stehen sie, wie war das Jahr, wie hat sich das Volk über das Jahr entwickelt, und daraus müssen dann halt diese ganzen Entscheidungen der Selektion getroffen werden.
And one big question is, of course, mating, because queens mate with so many drones. It has a huge influence on how they behave, and it makes the difficult even more difficult.
Und der größte Punkt ist halt auch die Befruchtung, weil die Königinnenbefruchtung lässt sich halt von so vielen verschiedenen Drohnen befruchten, da ist sehr wenig Einfluss drin.
And here comes this VSH breeding program, which is done by Arista Research.
Wir kommen jetzt zu dem VSA Brood Research System von Arista Research.
Okay. So they have. How many of you have heard about Arista Research? Yes, some, but most of you haven't. Oh, that's good. I brought this up. Arista Research. I think it's originally a Dutch initiative, and they have very beautiful web pages, and they have, as the heart of their breeding program, they have one drone inseminations. One drone insemination.
Die Befruchtung, also von Anfang an hat er glaubt, dass die Grundidee von Arista Research aus den Niederlanden stammt. Im Augenblick ist das eine Backfastgruppe aus Bayern in Deutschland, und die machen Befruchtung immer nur von einer einzigen Drohne, also Einzelbefruchtung.
And this is for that reason, of course, that because when the matings are natural matings, we have the problem which father is the good one, and is this queen better because she has such and such mating.
Also bei der normalen Befruchtung, bei der Bildbefruchtung hat man halt immer das Problem, man kann nicht einschätzen, ob die vererbten Strukturen von der Königin sind oder von irgendeiner der vielen Drohnen, die diese Königin befruchtet haben. Und das umgeht man halt in dieser Untersuchungsreihe.
Okay. So the last point, other qualities, I put it in parentheses because in very few moments I had the possibility to look at other qualities. So I was very much afraid that my bees would be very different than the bees what beekeepers would like to have.
Er hat den Begriff andere Qualitäten oder andere Kriterien in Klammern gepackt, weil er auch noch andere Qualitäten, und hier gerade nicht eingegangen ist, auch noch in Betracht gezogen hat, und er hat halt auch immer Angst, wie entwickeln sich seine Bienen, entwickeln die sich anders, als ein Imker eigentlich möchte, dass sich seine Völker entwickeln.
There is quite a bit of evidence that treatment-free beekeeping will make the bees more aggressive and
es gibt halt Belege dafür, oder man glaubt, dass es Belege dafür gibt, dass behandlungsfreie Bienenhaltung Bienen aggressiver werden lässt.
And I think it is because they have a better sense of smell. They are reacting to every little smell they get.
Bedingt durch die Tatsache, dass sie halt nicht behandelt werden, können sie besser riechen und sie reagieren viel schneller auf fremde Gerüche oder fremde Einflüsse.
And then there's another big possibility that the bee colonies they become smaller, and I think it has happened by me. I know 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I had large, beautiful breakfast colonies which made 2 boxes full of brood, and now my hives are totally different.
Und der andere Effekt ist, dass die Völker kleiner werden. Er erinnert sich daran, dass er in den alten Zeiten große Backfast-Völker hatte, in mehreren Kisten mit großen Bruträumen, und das hat sich jetzt geändert. Er hat jetzt nur noch kleine Völker.
And this exactly the same happened in Ingemar Peace's experiment in Gotland. He got 150 hives on Gotland Island in a remote area and just let the bees die there, and he looked which would survive.
Das gleiche hat man bereits auf dem bekannten Projekt auf der Insel vor Gotland gemacht, wo man 150 Völker sich selbst überlassen hat, um zu sehen, wie entwickeln sie sich, und entweder sie überleben oder sie überleben nicht, und da wurden diese Beobachtungen auch bestätigt.
And I think the bees were tested at some point in Germany too. Am I right? The Gotland bees?
So, no?
Okay.
Entschuldigung, was verstehen Sie unter kleinem Volk?
What do you mean by small colony? What's a small colony for you?
The 70 small colonies in the beginning, they had only 6 frames, and they.
6 Rahmen sind bei jedem ein kleines Volk.
I tried to minimize my losses, so I had the idea that maybe I should use very small colonies. I put many. I had the possibility of putting 70 of these different queen lines in the 70 little 6-frame nukes, and then I could easily select from a bigger number and not lose so much money.
Okay, die Idee zu Anfang war natürlich eine Idee, die scheinbar auch auf finanzielle Gedanken zurückgeht. Er sagte sich, wenn er 70 verschiedene Völker in 6er Rahmenboxen hat, dann ist bei den einzelnen Verlusten das Ganze monetär nicht viel leichter zu verarbeiten und zu verkraften. Und er konnte dadurch natürlich auch viel mehr Beobachtungen machen.
I think there's a slide coming.
Da gibt es noch einen Slide zu sagen.
Ja, wenn ich kurz unterbrechen darf, ich glaube, die Frage war die, wie hat sich die Volksstärke verändert und was ist für ihn nach den paar Jahren ein kleines Volk im Vergleich zum Beginn?
Okay, the question is not when you started with 6 frames. What is now after these 10 years for you a small colony?
Well, the 70 new colonies with 6 frames. The last one of this experiment died in 2005. So after that 2005, I didn't have this small new-based experiment.
Also nach 2005 ist das letzte Volk aus diesen 70 kleinen Völkern gestorben, und danach hat er auch keine mehr. So that means you now have no small.
I have only mini plus new colonies just for the queen insemination and testing. They are untreated as well, but I mean the 70 was originally the starting point of my project, and I now work with mini plus.
Er arbeitet jetzt mit Mini Plus, und die benutzt er auch für die Königinbefruchtung.
Wenn ich dazu was sagen darf, also wenn man davon ausgeht, dass ein Bienen ein Produktionsvolk, ein Wirtschaftsvolk eines Backfastzüchters, ich sag mal 10 bis 12 Raben im Brutraum besetzt und vielleicht noch 2, 3 Honigräume drauf hat, dann kann man von einem starken Volk sprechen. Und wenn die Volksstärke zurückgeht, sodass ein Bienenvolk nicht mal mehr 6 oder 8 Brutrahmen benutzt für die Brut und vielleicht noch einen Honigraum füllt, dann spricht man vielleicht von einem kleineren Volk. Also ich denke, ein Züchter oder ein Berufsimker, der hat andere Relationen, was ein starkes Volk ist.
Did you understand it? Did you understand it? We're coming to the point where we make a differentiation between somebody who is beekeeper and somebody who is living from beekeeping, productional beekeeping. And the productional beekeeper, as he mentioned, 6 or 8 frames is nothing they're looking at.
I have this story. It was maybe 10 years ago. We started. It was maybe 25 years ago. I made an experiment with Singer Karnika bees, which were imported by a Finnish company to Finland. I bought maybe six queens. I put them in hives, these Singer Karnika, and I put them in Dadant big boxes, 12 frame big Dadant brother Adam boxes. And the maximum brood frame amount was about 7.
25 Jahre das schon mal einen Versuch mit Karnika-Bienen gemacht. Die hat ja 12 Frames?
It was the original brother Adam 12 frame.
In 12 Rahmen und the brood was 6 or 8.
Maybe, I don't remember exactly, but anyway, the idea was that they had so small brood areas compared to my Backfast bees, the Singer Karnika bees. And then maybe 10 years went by, and I happened to meet Harald Singer in Hungary in one meeting. And I told Harald Singer that yes, I have tested your bees. They make such a small brood area, and they are very interesting.
Ja, wir kommen jetzt aber zu dem Punkt, wir kommen jetzt natürlich zu dem Punkt, wo er anfängt, nicht mehr seine Volksstruktur aufzuzeigen, sondern wo er unterscheidet zwischen den verschiedenen Bienenrassen. Er hat auch schon Versuche mit Karnika-Bienen in 12 Rahmen gemacht, die er dann mit seinen Backfast-Völkern verglichen hat. Ich glaube, wir kommen aber ein bisschen vom Thema ab.
But then Harald Singer surprised me and said that no, we don't have that kind of bees. And then I had to make another experiment. I bought again German Karnika bees, and they were exactly the same as my Backfast.
Okay, dann hat er später nach dem Experiment nochmal deutsche Karnika-Bienen gekauft und hat das Experiment wiederholt. Die wiederum haben sich wie seine Backfast-Bienen.
They were absolutely so calm as bees could be. They didn't swarm. They had huge brood nets, and they made a lot of honey. They were just as good as Backfast.
Okay, waren freundliche Bienen, die haben nicht geschwärmt, Brutnest war groß genug. Welchen Schluss wir jetzt auch immer daraus ziehen?
My point is that bee breeding, it has one aim to make bigger honey crops, and it has a tendency of going this direction, that the brood areas are getting bigger. And I could see that very well in Singer Karnikas. When I tested them, they all made quite small brood areas, but today Karnika bees make big brood areas.
Der Schluss, der daraus zieht, ist, dass die Züchtung halt dahin geht und die Entwicklung auch, dass man versucht, große Bruträume zu entwickeln. Und bei seinen Untersuchungen hat es dazu geführt, dass er auf kleine Bruträume geht.
And somebody has even said that the only progress we have made, or the most important progress we have made in bee breeding, is that the brood areas have become bigger.
Ja, also er sagt, er hat von einigen Leuten gehört, dass die einzige Entwicklung, die wir in den letzten Jahren hatten, dahin ging, dass die Brutnester halt immer größer wurden.
So, but my breeding is now going into other direction because I don't treat the bees naturally. They want a smaller hive if they are to be competing with viral mites.
Also wenn er unbehandelt arbeitet, dadurch, dass sich die Bienen halt auch gegen die Varroa bewähren, geht er und die automatische Entwicklung der Völker dahin, dass die Bruträume kleiner werden.
Here's the picture of my hive. I have 12 frames and now I don't anymore use these big data frames in the brood box. I have troubles with brood diseases. We have very serious American foul brood problem in that.
Also das sind die Leute, die im Augenblick benutzt. Das sind 12 Rahmen, die sind aus 18 mm Stahlholz und haben 5 cm Polyesterdach mit 12 mm Stahlholz und 5 cm Drohnenraum unten. Und die Probleme, die in Finnland gerade haben, sind große Probleme mit Faulbrut.
I couldn't make a frame circulation work in one 12-frame box. I shifted the black frames from the middle to the sides of the brood nest, and I wanted the queen to lay eggs in the white combs in the middle. But she didn't agree.
So, er hat angefangen, die dunklen Rahmen aus der Mitte zur Seite zu bewegen, weil er natürlich die Königin dazu bewegen wollte, Eier dann in die hellen Rahmen zu legen. Aber die Königin hat bei dem Spiel nicht mitgespielt.
I know you have very good legislation here in Germany. It's hard for you to understand the American foul brood problems, but we have maybe the worst American foul brood situation in the whole Europe.
Also er ist der Meinung, dass wir in Deutschland und in Österreich halt eine sehr gute Gesetzgebung und Überwachung der ganzen Geschichte haben, aber sie in Finnland haben ein sehr, sehr starkes Faulbrutproblem.
Okay. And the drone space, it's this one, this yellow here in the bottom. It's free space for the bees to rest from.
Okay, da unten, das hellere, was man in den beiden Bildern sieht, das ist ein Drohnenraum und da gibt er den Bienen die Möglichkeit, Drohnen zu schützen.
And this, I think this is copied from Backfast Area, and I think Eric has the same as well. Hive stand or 2 hives and then good space here in the middle. Just you can very quickly look at the hive and just put the boxes like that.
Das ist der Aufbau seines Beutenstandes, der von der alten Backfast-Variante abgeguckt ist, und an der Seite hat er dann halt die Möglichkeit, die ganzen Sachen aufzustellen und dann auch gleich neben den Beuten zu arbeiten.
So here's a little how it went. I already spoke about this, but just for one, the rehearsal is the start of learning how to set it. Here's how it went. I started in 38, and then it was down to 3 millimeters in 2008, and the efficiency was about 10%.
Also das ist die Aufstellung, mit der wir gearbeitet haben, von 2001 bis 2009 runter. Er hat mit 3,5% der Oxal- und Zuckerlösung gearbeitet, die er jeweils im November aufgebracht hat, und hat nur in den Jahren 2001 bis 2008 gearbeitet und dann von 2001 mit 38 Milliliter das Ganze bis auf 2007 auf 8 Milliliter runtergefahren, wobei er dann in 2008 auf 3 Milliliter mit einer Effizienz von 10% gearbeitet hat und 2009 dann völlig behandlungsfrei war.
And this kind of plastic round was on my hive bottom when I made the treatments, then 2001, 2008, and then I could easily count the lines here. I didn't count them exactly, I estimated them roughly.
Also das ist die Art und Weise, wie er die Varroamilbenzählung macht. Er hat diese runden Varianten, und jedes Mal nach der Behandlung hat er dann damit gezählt. Er hat nicht exakt die Milben gezählt, sondern hat eine Schätzung gemacht und gesagt, so über den Daumen haben wir so und so viele Milben, man auch in den Einteilungen der Segmente dieser Kuhgrafik da.
And originally it was actually smaller plate I used to use for formic acid treatments, and it was only a 10 centimeter of little dish I put formic acid. And I noticed that there were huge differences how many mites they would drop, and that woke up my curiosity about the differences between hives.
Okay, also er hat früher mit so einem kleinen 10 cm großen Blättchen oder Plätzchen gearbeitet und hat damit die Ameisensäurebehandlung gemacht und hat dann durch diese Behandlung festgestellt, oder wurde auch neugierig und interessiert daran, wie die Milben reagieren und abfallen.
That was before 2001.
Das war alles noch vor 2001, als ich vorher angefangen hat, die Oxalsäure miteinander umzufahren.
And I remember quite this picture of the 6th grade untreated newts, so they're very small.
Das wurde so ein 6 Rahmen unbehandelter Mini-Beutenkasten.
Yeah. There were 70 of these originally, very few survivors, 10% surviving and 90% dying each.
Also 10% haben davon immer überlebt und 90% sind jedes Jahr gestorben. Und dann wurden neue Nukes, also neue kleine Beuten aus den überlebenden Völkern zusammengestellt.
Yeah. And the good thing was although this experiment was then stopped, or it ended because the last nuke died, I could use some of the survivors here in my mating station as drone hives.
Okay, you said they all died. How could you use your...
I mean, during the years between 2000, for instance, I used 2003 and 2004, I used daughter queens of survivors in my mating station.
Okay, er hat die aus den überlebenden Völkern hat er Tochterköniginnen genommen und die hat die in seiner Begattungsstation weiterverwendet.
I haven't mentioned yet, but it's very good situation in Finland because we have so few bees. We have lots of remote forest areas where we can make good mating stations.
Er hat in Finnland natürlich den Vorteil, dass sie sehr wenige Bienen haben und in diesen Bereichen können sie die Bienen ziemlich großflächig ausstellen und können da auch sehr gute Begattungsstationen
I have one main mating station and one in the peak season I even had another forest mating station, but today I'm mainly using insemination.
Okay, früher hat er auch in den Wäldern einzelne Begattungsstationen gehabt, aber mittlerweile benutzt er die Befruchtungsvariante.
I use tar paper around hives as a protection.
Schwarze Dachpappe im Winter als Schutz.
And I think this goes a bit aside from the subject, but I think for bees it is important that they are calm during winter time and they don't need a warm house.
They don't. Okay, er ist der Meinung, dass die im Winter ihre Ruhe haben, aber er glaubt, dass sie keine warme Behausung benötigen.
That is, it is something for we people. We will like to stay in warm houses, and we think the bees do as well.
Er glaubt, dass wir Menschen aus unserer Angewohnheit im Winter gerne in warmen Wohnungen zu leben, das auch die Bienen produzieren.
Where do you put the tar paper?
When?
Where?
Around the hives.
Around the house.
Yes.
Not only on the tops.
No, it's all around.
Also die Beuten werden rundherum mit schwarzer Dachpappe eingeschlagen.
But in the winter time, I open the back of the bottom, so there is air going in from one entrance in back and out from the other entrance in front. So there is lots of air going through, and we have minus 40, minus 30 degrees sometimes.
Also wir haben da unten minus 40 bis minus 30 Grad Celsius und unten öffnet er vorne und hinten ein Stück, damit eine Luftzirkulation stattfinden kann innerhalb der Beute.
It sounds very crazy to have double the ventilation in winter than what it is in summer.
Hört sich ein bisschen verrückt an zu sagen, im Winter mache ich mehr Ventilation, also mehr Luftdurchzug als im Sommer.
But I have good experiences because the bees, when they get this this winter mode, they need it calm. They need this cold to really calm down. And our bees consume about 1 kilo sugar per month.
Er sagt, hört sich vielleicht ein bisschen verrückt an, das gerade im Winter auch zu machen. Er hat damit also gute Erfahrungen, weil er feststellt, dass die Bienen seiner Meinung nach dieses Gefühl von Kälte brauchen, weil sie dann eine weitaus engere Wintertraube bilden, zusammenkommen. Und was ist 1 Kilo pro Monat? Und er hat festgestellt, dass sie dann innerhalb dieser Traube 1 Kilo Futter pro Monat verbrauchen.
And the bees are so calm that you really need to have a very close look to see that they are alive.
Und wenn man reinguckt, die sind so ruhig und so in der Starre und zusammengedrückt, man muss wirklich ganz genau hingucken, um festzustellen, dass sie überhaupt noch am Leben sind.
Do you have a lot of time? How much time I have?
10, 15 minutes.
10, 15 minutes.
How much you need?
Oh boy, you must rush.
How much you need?
I'm not sure.
I can organize. How much you need?
Darf ich vielleicht nochmal unterbrechen? Also muss diese Simultanübersetzung wirklich sein? Das wurde auf Englisch angekündigt. Damit mussten wir uns alle von vornherein abfinden. So sind wir hierher gekommen. Und es gibt überhaupt keinen Fluss im Vortrag, dadurch, dass ständig nur dieses Hin- und Her-Übersetzen passiert.
Und eine flüssige Übersetzung in einer Ecke, die funktioniert auch wunderbar für die Leute, die Schwierigkeiten haben.
Also für ihn ist es auch respektlos. Er kommt überhaupt nicht in den Fluss. Er hat jetzt nur noch 10 Minuten, um seinen Vortrag, der gerade bei der 5. Folie ist, fertig zu kriegen. Also.
I didn't understand.
We're at that point that the majority of the audience has the opinion we better don't do simultaneous translation because you are not going into the flow of your presentation, and it would be better to find a row in the backside for the people who are not able to follow your presentation, and we're doing a little whispering translation over there. Okay.
Ja, wir sind Bienenhalter und wir sind flexibel und offen und ständig reagieren. Also, wenn die Allgemeinheit damit einverstanden ist, dann machen wir es so, versuchen wir es ein gutes Stück, oder? Ja. Also, ja, was wir jetzt machen, das soll sich bitte mit den
It would be great if there was a little opportunity at the end to ask you a few questions. I'd like to understand how your work sits in the rest of Finland. You know, that's what we would like to know.
You mean other beekeepers or?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh well, I speed up.
Juhani, you can stop it out.
So here's a couple of pictures from the high bottoms. There's the free space for bees. This is all drone comb here. The bees raise a lot of drones, and here 2 stripes go that way. Sometimes they build that way. Usually they build along the frames. And it's all built with drones. So I am very much in favor of the bees raising a lot of drones. They are important and they know exactly how many drones they want to have. The next picture is maybe the most important one, so I really hope that you ask if you don't understand, because here is all my work in one picture. It is all here.
And there's missing the camera.
Yeah.
Sorry? Oh, it doesn't show here. It was earlier a problem that it is not showing here as well as it's showing there. Can you fix the problem? It is almost not showing at all here.
Dobra, postawię Fernsteuer, aber dafür das Teil. Das ist eine Fernsteuer. Immer noch die Fernsteuer.
Kommt noch niemand vom Glück.
you all people sitting there, you should come here. Das war ja
ich werde auch jemanden holen, der das fixiert.
So, here the first picture, hive losses and infestation. Here are the years 2001 here, 2018 here. So, and hive losses are these columns. Here in the beginning, I had raising losses, and I think my bees were used to having August treatments also. When I started the program, I skipped the August treatments. I started to use only one-time oxalic acid treatment. And because of that change, the bees didn't get the August treatment. I had in the beginning very big losses. Then the losses got smaller, but you must remember that during these years I treated still my bees. And it was actually 2004 was the turning point. It was about 28 milliliters of oxalic acid. That is the turning point. That kills enough mites that the bees survive. But if it gets under 28 milliliters, then the problems start to build up. And the yellow line is the infestation, and here in these years the infestation was measured from the mites which got on the plates. So the infestation went rapidly up, and the infestation column is here. In the maximum, it reached about, is it near 8% infestation. So, and here you must know that this column is losses during summer, and this is losses during autumn. So in this year I have had over 70% losses, or near 70% losses. I have had 70% losses again 2011 and 2015. So it has been very going up and down in this project. Sometimes I have believed that this works, and sometimes problems are coming bigger. And then the infestations here are measured differently.
Sorry, Juhani, ist das jetzt in Ordnung so für euch?
Yes, super, bravo.
Takie same obserwacje, jeśli właściwie mają takie same obserwacje. 4 lata, czasem to 5, nie? Chodzi o zasilone i 4 to i tak wygląda.
Okay. Continue. This blue line is the infestation of breeder queens. You remember I stopped the treatments here, and then I didn't have the varroa mites from the plates. I just had to make sugar shakes of my best hives. And the infestation of the breeders was quite big in the beginning, but it has slowly, there's a tendency of the breeder infestation going down. So that's a good positive thing. But it is the biggest problem is that the breeding work always comes a bit late. If I have a perfect breeder here, most of my hives are daughters from a breeder 2 years before, and the breeders 2 years before. they were not as good. So it is hard to, even if 50% of your beehives can live with mice, the other 50% makes it hard for the treatment-free beekeeper, because the 50% which is not able to cope with mice causes troubles. So it's an evil circle. You really need to. You are a long time in big trouble. Hopefully, I'm not speaking too sad words about treatment-free beekeeping, but I want to be honest that if you want to start treatment-free beekeeping, you must be prepared for losses. So, for the neutrality of the sides, I go this way. This another line. These are actually two measuring points, 2009 and 2017. So there are no measurements in between. That's why the line is so direct. But I did an experiment. I searched for the dead bees on the high bottoms. I took dead bees from high bottoms and looked how many mites they have. The dead bees in the high bottoms. And I noticed that it was interesting that the tendency was going also down, same as in the breeder hive. So, I mean, during the process, maybe the biggest thing I'm being afraid is that I fool myself. I fool myself to believe that I have made some progress. So I have to always make some experiments or try to test my bees whether there is progress or not. So, okay. Here's the efficiency of the
I'm sorry, may I ask you a question? When your infestation rate in your hives is declining, why do you have such a high number of losses? How do you explain it?
Well, I explain it this way, that I might have a perfect breeder hive this year, but why is she good? Is it heritable differences, or is it just coincidence? It's not. If there are very little mice in the hive, it's not a proof that she is genetically better. And therefore, it's just a rule of heredity and breeding that the progress is very slow, and the losses, they are very big for many years, because if I have a perfect breeder queen this year, maybe after 1 or 2 years, the good results of her will affect my whole apiary. There might be about 10% of my hives which are daughters of this perfect breeder queen. The rest, 90%, are daughters from other hives, which are not so good. And of course, I try to, if the perfect breeder gives me another perfect breeder as from one of her daughters, then of course the situation is getting better. But this time, this time factor, the breeder today, if it's good, it takes a couple of years until the effect of a perfect breeder is in the whole beekeeping. And that's why there's a great losses to be expected many years. And as I said, even if 50% of the hives are perfectly resistant and the other 50% is not, it's not going to be enough. There will still be losses. Yes. And here we can, you can see the high numbers, they have dramatically dropped. And the big shock was here 2013. And I was here about 100 hives, and then 2013 I was about 12 hives. And last summer I managed to get up to 25 hives. But I'm not sure if I'm going to get any better this year. But one reason for the is that we have had very bad summers. 2015, 16 and 17 have been very cold and rainy summers. So cold that some beekeepers didn't get any honey 2016. And last year, 2017, I had better mating results with insemination than with free mating. I mean, the queens, they didn't have time for free mating. The temperatures were about 17 degrees, and little rain almost all heavy rain. Well, we must hurry up. Well, here's one thing I wanted to. Does long winter give advantage? I asked this from a beekeeping consultant in Finland. What happens if normal bees are left untreated in Finland? An example, normal treatments in one autumn, small apiary and good control of colonies. First summer, no problems. Second summer, problems start. Winter after second summer and third summer are serious problems. And so we in Finland, because of this long winter, we have a more easy situation than you have here in Central Europe. But still, the mites cause problems, but slower. The problems are the winter helps us. Big beekeepers have started to use also spring treatments in Finland, and that's a bad sign for me, because it seems that treatments are needed more and more all the time. So this is what happened. I go a little bit into the background of this. 2014, we sold some queens to Italy, and I actually didn't know where did they go. I didn't know the person who bought them. But it turned out that they tested them for 2 years, and then I got an email contact from Luca Consigli, a director of one of the biggest package bee and queen producers in whole Europe. They have an internet page in packagebeeseurope.com. They had tested our queens for 2 years, and he was so interested in them, he wanted to visit us. And he said to me that our bee stock mated with Horst Reisel, an Austrian Backfast breeder. With Horst Reisel Backfast bees, they were the best bees he had ever had. And he was so astonished, how could this be that the queens from Northern Europe, from Finland, I get so good results. And that's why he wanted to come, and now we have a cooperation with this company, and they sell package bees and queens all over Europe. So here is our logo. I know this sounds great, but there are no such bees which are 100% viral resistant at the moment. But Luca Consigli, he had tested other viral resistant materials as well, and he had good good knowledge about the different vines and trees, and he came to the conclusion that he wanted to work with us. I was shocked. Last summer they estimated to have produced about 10,000 daughters from our breeders. Here's Luca in our beeyards. Future. All beekeepers doing viral resistance work in the first place work with their own material. If when serious inbreeding problems start, it is time to take the material from another resistance breeder to make a crossing. Control of matings is essential. Either isolated mating stations or inseminations must be used. Our goal for the next 10 years is to get back to the high numbers and honey crops we used to have before this project started. But, as I said, there are no guarantees that this will happen. This big question is, and we discussed this last evening already, how could we make this transition that treatment-free beekeeping becomes the norm and all beekeepers get interested and have the ability to join. And I think one of the attempts is made by Joseph Koller. He has suggested this so-called roots breeding system, that every beekeeper could start with one bee yard in a remote place, leave it without treatments, and make news from the survivors. And this period may last for 5 years, maybe longer, and then when the first yard gets full of bees, so you can't put any more bees in that one yard, then you could make another yard in the neighborhood and make slow by slow, little by little, this area of treatment-free bees bigger. Starting in one point and getting bigger in circles. I got very interested in this, and I actually started to use this method. But what I found out was in the beginning, when the bees are not resistant, they have no power of producing enough drones. So it is very hard to have a system like this work, and I don't believe it anymore. And we discussed with Norbert that maybe we should make some cooperation with beekeepers in the same area. You need a group of beekeepers working in an area where you could really have enough drones for the queens to make.
That sounds like a very sensible approach, Juhani. And I'd like to say that in Wales, where David Heath, our associate David Heath, started treatment-free beekeeping, but cold turkey from one day to the next, 20 colonies, high losses in the beginning. But then he found out that there were many people in the area who were similarly not treating. They just weren't talking about it. It's now known as the Wales experiment. And in this part of Wales where he is, I would say I think the figures say that the percentage of treatment-free beekeepers is 85 or 90% in this whole region of northern Wales, and they have somewhat lower, a little bit lower losses than the national average. Yeah. So it really, if people work together, they don't need to go through terrible trials and tribulations, but they need to work together. They need to say, this region is our region, not my region. I think this is...
and we have a video, fellow who made the video here in Brooklyn.
I just wanted to add that there is one big difference, because the area where David Heath and his other beekeeper friends were working, they never started treating. Never ever. So there was a completely healthy, wild population of honeybees, and so at the moment we don't have this genetic pool anymore here in Germany or in Austria, they could build on in Wales. So
I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. I heard in connection with Torben Schiffer's work that there are areas in German forests where they actually have found wild bee colonies living. And I think once you start paying attention to that, and there's a real will, you do find them. I believe you find them. I think there is so much opposition towards this idea. In Wales, I assure you that it was very helpful that there was already a commercial beekeeper who had 100 colonies in skeps, Korbimkerei, and he was not treating his bees, and he said to the whole public, here I am a bee inspector, I'm one of the treatment-free nutters, they were considered crazy. But that was like 7 years ago, they were considered crazy. Now everybody's looking at them and saying, let's have this craziness, we need it in the world.
Yes. And another beekeeper you should really be aware of is Terje Reinertsen in Norway. He actually has made history. He is the first beekeeper ever who has claimed that he has treatment-free bees, and this claim has been proved by a scientific study. Peter Neumann and Melissa Ottier from Germany, they went to Norway and they studied Terje Reinertsen bees, and they found that they were resistant. So, and he has been treatment-free about, I think, 17 years or something like that. And the first 10 years, he had troubles, like I did. And after that 10 years, the troubles, they got less. He had more than average losses in the first 10 years. After the first 10 years, less than average losses. So it's a good example for us all that it is possible, and it is now scientifically proven. And he's not isolated very much, but he was a big beekeeper in the beginning, so he had some control of his drones in the area. And so it's a very positive message to see that, and I think many scientists are now very interested because it is the first. There has lots of talking, lots of claims that I have resistant bees, I have resistant bees. But nobody...
We don't even talk about resistant. We call the aim varroa tolerant bees, because you don't want the varroa to disappear altogether. It's not in the interest to kill the parasite altogether. But it is interesting that Peter Neumann, who you've just mentioned, when he was asked what he would like to talk about at the conference in Holland later this year, he said, I want to talk about the beekeeping revolution. Because in order to enable bees to live treatment-free, we need a revolution in beekeeping. We need to stop a lot of things that we are now doing as beekeepers. And that, I think, is the really interesting part.
And why I know so much about this Terje Reinertsen experiment and Peter Neumann is because Peter Neumann planned to come to us. But I'm so big enthusiast of this. I have done this for 17 years. So we didn't come to agreement of the terms.
You've done remarkable work.
Yeah. I have to say directly that I ended up in an argument with Peter Neumann. We couldn't agree on the terms of the experiment, so he decided he would not come.
It's a shame, but we're only human, we need to be more like bees.
Yes, I mean, he didn't understand that I love my bees. I have this enthusiastic eager to do something, and he didn't understand. He wanted to have all done in his rules. So,
how interesting.
Yeah. But anyway.
Sorry, what is the longest time that the hive survived?
In my beekeeping?
Yes.
I don't have such records.
No. How many times a hive survived in your apiary without any treatment?
How many years?
I have 3-year-old breeders.
3 years?
Yes.
The oldest one? The oldest one?
Sorry?
The oldest, is it the oldest queen?
Usually I don't have older breeders than 3 years.
Breeders, but other queens in other hives? Do you have some older queens? Or do you just have all the breeders in your hives?
Well, our breeders might be 1 year old, 2 year old, 3 year old, and the oldest breeders are usually 3 year old. After that, they usually die in winter time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because the queens are not good anymore, and they don't make big enough winter colony. So that's about it. Here is a picture of me and Kari Pirhonen doing examinations. And finally I'm quitting, and now it's time for questions, and we are late off our timetable, but no.
I have to charge it.
Yeah, I have one question. You sent some of your bees from Finland to Italy, if I remember right.
Yes.
And of course, knowing about the long winter you have in Finland, I was thinking of a very long period in the yearly cycle of the bees without any brood, which is really affecting the infestation rate of with Varroa. But that should change completely if you send them to Italy, where they find a completely different climate. So I was surprised that they are also successful in Italy with the same bees. Maybe you can answer that already. Did everyone get the question?
The question was that a completely different situation in southern Italy than our long winter situation, and the answer is Luca Consigli found out that our bees are not totally Varroa resistant, but they are better than the other strains they have tested. So he had to choose from various breeds. He had the possibility to choose from various breeders to work with, and he found out that our bees are best. So that's the main goal. But I must say it again, the bees, they were not Varroa resistant in Italian conditions. Yes. And I had also sent in queens 2009 to Europe. That was a big turning point. I sent in queens, for instance, to Paul Jungels in Luxembourg, and to Jürgen Krause in Germany for testing. And some of the breeders, they got into the Jungels and Krause breeding systems, and it was a good sign for me that some progress had been made, because this fooling of oneself is the biggest problem. I don't want to be in the situation that I have done something, so much work, and nothing is coming.
Post it on your website. I will take the link.